So then, yeah, let's just take a look at the board itself so that how many, spaces we could able to land on. So with that being said, it might seems not so bad as far as I've noticed something like this, other than we can able to use, you know, the golden dash mushroom as usual. So that way we could able to actually decide to able to either catch up to the star space, or potentially, ultimately, we can able to steal a star from Lakitu if it's possible. Well, apart from the fact that we got ourselves a lower numbers from that dice rolls, but apart from that, we got ourselves the forms of that, you know, the golden dash mushroom to use though. So even then, let's take a look then. We should probably go for the left present, and there we go. We actually got ourselves a Lakitu. So, you know about the actual, like, Team Sonic Racing Overdrive animated short series, as I mentioned earlier? Well, recently we did manage to watch one of the episodes, but by the forms of episode 1. And, as far as I've noticed so far, is the fact that, much like in Sonic Mania Adventures, that, they did manage to able to not including the voice acting in that particular animated series. Although the only time it's voiced, however though, is whenever you use the Wisp power-ups. So, I guess it makes it a little bit more, obvious because of how the fact that they did manage to mash things up ever since in Sonic Colors for about almost a decade ago now. Well, up until when it gets to like 2020 for that particular year. So, yeah, that's as far as I can say about it for this point right there. And, I'm sad to say, by the forms of the actual, like, the purpose of the forms of, like, the actual Let's Play schedules department, that, the reason why that it took so long to able to actually mention about the forms of like several Let's Play schedules and what have you is because unfortunately though for the likes of the Game Boy series of Mega Man games that we really love to tackle through, unfortunately though that particular Let's Play will be delayed until the very end of 2019, and we're also able to decide to push forward the actual Let's Play of Mario, or the actual redo Let's Play of Mario Kart 8 until this year in November. So because of that, well, because it might be feels a little bit confusing at times whenever we decide to do a Let's Play of some things. But anyways, we got a new minigame, Metal Detectors. Dig up the most coins. When the rumble at your feet is strongest, dig. So basically, you have to like move around with the unlock stick, and then just press the button on the right until you're able to actually dig for something. And if you felt the rumble, this actually represents you're actually gonna get yourselves coins from. So yeah, it's kind of like the same, exact same concept of the minigame as from not only the treasure trophers from Mario Party 6, but also by the forms of, I would say by the forms of one of those minigames, or one of the solo minigames in Mario Party 4 that you have to dig up for the forms of the actual desert. Although, except rather than just digging up for the actual oil, instead we need to dig up by the forms of just coins. So, but the only things you need to worry about though is of course the Pokies might actually wander around all over the place. So, yeah, that's about it obviously with this particular minigame itself. So, yeah, all it comes together for that point. So, yeah, and it looks like Goomba, he's pretty much tied over with Koopa Troopa so far. And looks like we've now reached to the last 5 turns, even though, despite the fact that the game doesn't really tell us about those actually last 5 turn events for this point, yeah, bit of a sense of confusion there, but still. So yeah, another thing is worth mentioning though is the fact that, well, when it comes to like this particular Let's Play so far, sometimes we might actually be, well, specifically in the forms of like the board gameplay aspect, except by the forms of like, several modes when we actually get into later on, that way we could able to actually go ahead and decide to able to actually either upload one particular video in Saturday, whilst majority of the time by the forms of the rest of the uploading schedules in Sunday. So because we have to keep on alternated slightly, well, not all the time, but most of the time. So because of that, we need to able to actually keep things up with the forms of the uploading schedules for the time. So yeah, to be expected. So anyway, so the next star space is gonna be at once again at the very beginning of the first island right there, and conveniently enough right next to the actual item shop. So yeah, that makes it totally obvious. So anyways though, Koopa Troopa lands on the blue space right there. So Hopefully though, at the very end at least, things should be able to get a lot more faster than it attempted to. So, yeah, that's as far as I can go for that point. So, anyways though, 6 and 1 and 2, so that makes 9 altogether. So, yeah, it looks like, yeah, to me though, that, Goomba doesn't do, that well so far, just because of how the fact that, well, as I mentioned to you before, that, you know how the fact that originally that the sand bridge was supposed to come back to its normal fixed, position, but turns out that it does not respawn at all. Because, I'm guessing it's because it might be something to do with, like, the Indie Cube developers didn't like the idea of how the fact that they don't even, like, respawning most of these obstacles, or in this case, for this matter, that, it's hard to explain most of the time, because either way, that, yeah, it just feels kind of bothering some. For those of you really not a big fan of, like, island hopping type of boards, then you have to cope with it. Yeah, I know that. Especially that how the fact that we need to keep on landing on most of the actual warp pipes most of the time before you traverse through everything. So, another thing I should probably explain about this actually is the fact that we actually did manage to go ourselves, or actually we did order our next original Xbox game, because I'm sure enough that for the most of the time that we're actually going to be going after most of the original Xbox titles for this point. And the other Xbox original game we did manage to order, and that was the forms of another Crash Bandicoot game on the original Xbox, but this time around is in the kart racing. So, it potentially known for it was Crash Nitro Kart. Originally, I was able to get the superior version, which is the Game Boy Advance version, because I've heard so many good things about the forms of the Game Boy Advance version of Crash Nitro Kart. But the thing is, I think I should probably go for the console version for the time being, just because of how the fact that the gameplay of Crash Nitro Kart plays exactly similar to how it does it in Crash Team Racing, and including the upcoming remake of Crash Team Racing Nitro Field. So yeah, you can get a lot of potentials for that point. So anyways, let's go ahead and steal a star for poor old Goomba right there, just because of how the fact that, well, I have to be honest for this point there, is the fact that because, well, we're originally trying to able to go ahead and just steal a star from Boo or something like that, but the game decides to tell us about the fact that we're gonna have to steal a star from Goomba instead, because we accidentally select random option, because we're expecting if we could able to select random and directly aim it at Boo, but that's not the case. Because even then, it might be a little bit more incredibly random, don't you think? Yeah, it could be a lot of those emphasis, I think. So as though Boo is going to be using the Poison Mushroom too. And it looks like it's going to aim for Koopa Troopa. Yeah, I could get a lot of potentials there, so, yeah, not to mention though, because of how the fact that unfortunately some of these days are most likely happening with the forms of like some schedules has been delayed and all that stuff, which because of that though we really need to able to focusing on the current Let's Plays we're still currently doing, which we said that all the time though for the past few years, at least the only time, or at least the only year that we did manage to complete most of the Let's Plays so far, which is actually by the forms of in 2011. Well, mind you, because of how the fact that not only because the actual quality of the videos themselves back in the day was pretty sluggish. Well, actually, before I mentioned about this, we have a new minigame, Dart Gallery. So, avoid being hit when defending or hits the capsule 3 times when attacking. So, each attacking player has 5 darts to throw. Use them wisely to corner the defending player. This minigame is very similar to how he does it in Bob-omb Barrage minigame from Mario Party 2, but the only difference is this time around is the fact that we're going to be able to tossing the darts. And also because the team of 1 actually has 3 health points this time around, rather than just the forms of like an instant 1 health, unlike in Bob-omb Barrage. But either way though, that's as far as we can go. However though, we don't have to worry about the flickering motion thing this time around, so... Boo! Why did you waste the last dart? Oh jeez, I can't believe we actually lost by that. You know, that Boo just managed to waste the last dart. Oh well. But on the plus side though, we'll let Goomba win on that one, because at the moment right now, that he was practically in dead fourth, so... But yeah, who knows to that. Alright, so we're on turn number 17, so we're getting quite close towards the end of Megafruit's Paradise, and also we're getting quite close towards the end of the Mario Party mode before we move on to the next mode. So, yeah, it could be a lot of possibilities going on. Alright, so it looks like Koopa Troopa managed to use the golden pipe after all, and it looks like he might as well take a risk, I would believe. That not only does he get himself a 1, but sadly, that he gets a 2, so that means if he's got poisoned automatically, this means he needs to traverse back to the red pipe you go. Yeah, that's a little bit of a bothering sum for most of the time, so, but oh well, for him anyway. But I'm sure enough that, well, at least because the only thing you can get gold pipes these days now, especially by the forms of in this sport in general, that you must be sure you need to able to directly land onto the item space, if all depending on the forms of your timing skills with all this roulette system. So, anyways, though, looks like meanwhile that Goomba is keep on wandering all around across the circle by the forms of the first island. Yeah, which is kind of convenient though, but either way though, that's as far as to him anyway. But anywho though, hopefully most of the times will go down pretty darn quickly. Well, at least it all depends, because again, you have to sit through by the forms of these CPUs watching, because of how the fact that in order to actually like see what's gonna happen next, well, you have to basically just watch the entire portion of it. Yeah, I know that. Let's not land on that happening space, but instead let's go land onto that ally space and get ourselves our next ally. So what's the next ally we can get? It's Pom Pom. So hopefully she would able to actually join in. So far we haven't actually played as one of the girl players yet. Well, at least the only time we can able to do that is of course extra modes. But even then though, that we'll mention more on that whenever we get to those. So one thing I forgot to do actually is the fact that, well, we'll do that by the end of this particular board, that we could potentially try to able to go ahead and do the actual minigames list that we have not played yet, or we have played yet. So because of that though, I'm pretty sure now this game, this entire game, sorry about a little bit of attention right there, this game does retains like 84 minigames. So yeah, timing is money. So I'm pretty sure we played this last time, even though despite the fact that last time we did that pretty terrible at the end. But hopefully we get this time. So let's just hype a bad start. Well, so much for Goomba and Boo, that's for sure. So yeah, not much more to comment for this point right there. So hopefully we can get this last part. There we go. And that is much more better than in forms of how it does it from last time now. So yeah, kudos to that. Yep, indeed, it could have been. But again, you have to rely on the timing system on that specific minigame in mind, just in case if you really can't afford to get a Bob-Omb, then it'll be your dead syndrome. So, anyways though, the last 3 turns left. So, as to be expected, they're going to be bringing up some more information on here and there. So, we're in first place after all. And Boo was in second place, Koopa Troopa was in third place, and dead fourth was actually Goomba. So, and it looks like that he's going to be able to have a chat with Mega Blooper, then I think he's going to translate. So because of that though, Toad is trying to say that, well, looks like that Mega Blooper thinks that the Goomba might actually win this. Well, it all depends on the forms of like, well, he got himself the golden pipe after all. Yep. Kudos to him anyway. So, usual that, you know, multiplying coin spaces and what have you, and eventually, there's going to be some extra bad luck spaces. Conveniently enough, we don't actually come across into those, basically. Yeah, because of this little coincidence anyway, that I'm pretty sure because of how the fact that we don't have nearly as much of those extra bad luck spaces, because in this board, this time it only has 2 of them, so that's a little bit of a waste opportunity if they actually didn't able to actually put in lesser amounts of spaces like this. Well, at least compared to the forms of Womp's Domino Ruins, they did manage to have like 5 of them, and especially noticeable in the forms of King Bob-Omb's Powder Keg Mine, they do actually have 3 of them. But for whatever reason, when we get to later boards, that for whatever reason, they just somehow tone it down a little bit. well, until whenever we get to the final main Mario Party board, or in this case for that Mario Party mode, I really can't speak today for this point, folks, because my tongue is actually getting pretty twisty around. So, yeah, what the actual Pinkie Pie was meant to say, that whenever we get to the final main board of the actual Mario Party mode, that hopefully we can able to actually stumble across several of those bad luck spaces. Well, at least in terms of the extra bad luck spaces, but again, we'll find things out until next weekend. Yeah, which is probably from the truth. Alright, so our turn now. So, I don't think we can able to actually get that many coins though to begin with, until whenever we steal our next star. So, instead, we'll just have to take it as it is. Well, if all depending on the forms of the actual 50% chances between these two presents, as I already have stated that before. Okay, so let's go on the right. And it looks like, oh, we got Lakitu again. Okay, seems convenient enough. And we'll go ahead and steal coins to, let's go for random. And for this choice is Koopa Troopa. Because I'm pretty sure he's got most of his coins compared to Boo. And even especially noticeable with Goomba as well. So in this case, we'll steal coins from Koopa then. Which that's fine for us. Yeah, at least as far as I can usually tell for that point. Alright, so not bad at all. Well, at least because of how the fact that with the lack of mashing the buttons option since Mario Party 2, that, well, it does have mash buttons on Mario Party 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, especially with 6. But, except for Mario Party 1 and 7, because you really can't outright break from it. So, in this case, if you can't really outrun to flee it. So, oh well. So anyways, Boo is going to be using the hidden block card. I'm pretty sure that the hidden blocks tally by the end of the board, that the hidden block cards will not count as a result. So, technically speaking, because of how the fact they want to you know, try to acknowledge about the forms of what player did actually make it to the forms of the actual hidden blocks to begin with. Yeah, which is true. Alright, so far so good anyway, with the actual board itself, because whenever I first time I've played the game, for whatever reason, I just simply lost this board. Yeah, which is a little bit annoying, but still. Okay, so not cases. I think we've played this before, since the very beginning of this Let's Play, so let's play this again. But, hopefully we can able to get as many of those nuts as possible, if only if the computer players doesn't act out like an idiot. But anyways though, let's place that here, and I think this one has the... no, I think this one is the most. Well actually, I'll take it back. Yeah, we'll go for that one, because we felt the actual HD rumble around here. So, yeah, that probably gets the idea for that, so... Anyways though, let's go ahead and just keep on shaking the Joy-Con here, and... Goomba! You're an idiot! Ah, fine. Be that way. But it's gonna be tough though, because either way though, we don't exactly know of when the actual final results is going to be like. So in this case, we did manage to claim our victory right there. So yeah, pretty nice stuff. So anyways, let's go ahead and do a nice little high five syndrome, and yeah, that's all comes together. Alright, so... oh, there's also another thing worth mentioning though, is the fact that I'm pretty sure enough, not to mention since we're going to be using these characters from this board, not only by the forms of the Mario Party 4 host characters for that specific stipulation, well, Toad was already being the host of the character of the forms of this game so far. Not only because of that, but also by the forms of the Captain Allies from Mario Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions on the Nintendo 3DS, and one of those flags on top of it. Like, for instance, I'm pretty sure that Goomba actually has one of them, and I'm pretty sure Koopa Troopa actually has that as well on the back of his shell, and I believe Boo also has that too, and finally Shy Guy did manage to guts the flag on the actual topping point, so that makes it clearly obvious for that, another reason that we did manage to pick those characters in this board. So yeah, you get the idea for that point. So anyways though, and Goomba got himself 2 coins, but it doesn't really matter because either way though, he gloriously managed to make himself towards the star. Yep, which is true. So yep, looks like he's gonna go for it. So again, there's not much else we could really talk about this at this point, folks, because either way, yeah. One more thing before you're able to actually just concentrate onto this particular video's commentary is the fact that, for whatever reason, we accidentally ordered double of those copies of Spyro A Hero's Tale, which I've no idea why, probably because of sense of confusion's sake, but, apart from that, though, that, we did manage to take the other one back, so naturally, we have to cancel that, second copy of, Spyro A Hero's Tale, and replace it as a different one, which is, you know, for instance, you know, Crash Nitro card for the original Xbox. Now, I know for the fact that the N-Gage version is considerably the worst of the few, versions of the game, or in this case, the best version of, Crash Nitro cards was still the Game Boy Advance version, because it always plays exactly like Mario Kart Super Circuit, but on the Crash Bandicoot characters. At least as far as I've noticed that already. Anyways though, lucky space, so which lucky events should we get? 10, or no, 3 coins, sorry. I keep on thinking of something else, but not that grass. Yeah, I know that. So, yeah, for whatever reason that, I've already mentioned about this before, that, the actual, I would say, spare, or the actual club-shaped, or in this case, I would say a clover, leaf, icon has been, like, the actual musical notes, Lucky Spaces has been replaced as these icons in this game now because, well, in, let's just say, by the forms of different generations or something, or perhaps it's maybe because they're trying to make it somewhat simplistic or something. I don't know, it's really hard to tell at this point. Anyways though, let's see, we have another new minigame, and this time around is 1 versus 3, and do we get something new? Other than drop shot again. So I'm pretty sure we've actually played this last time, so Fernando, let's go ahead and play this again. So we haven't exactly played Dust Bunnies yet, or Dust Buddies yet. Yeah, we'll hopefully get to that point one day. So Fernando, 2 seconds to spare. But again, these computer players are so pathetic. But either way though, because it's on hard mode, so let me know in the comments below if you really want to able to let us try out very hard mode to see what some differences here and there, but we'll figure that out at some point. So anyways though, so here we are to the final turn in Megafruit's Paradise. So yeah, that maybe seems a little bit more obvious. Alright, so but as usual, we can't buy any more items now because, you know, everything else is closed. Well, except for the fact that in the second shop has already been closed to begin with, just because of that scoop of ice cream is actually blocking it. And again, there's no way they can actually restore it. The only time you can able to restore it is by simply you have to end off the game board. So, and Sonic, what are you doing? For whatever reason, I just somehow took off my Joy-Con strap off. Because I have no idea why, because for some reason, every time whenever I decide to jig off, like slightly tap or slightly move the actual Joy-Con strap, I know it's perfectly locked and everything, although if you can't really see it, because as you can see, that we're actually going to be doing this on a capture screen. But for whatever reason, that the Joy-Con strap just always almost attempt to wiggle every once in a while. I'm guessing because the fact that, well, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm pretty sure that, well, we still managed to lock it after all, but either way, that's as far as we can go. Alright, so last turn for us for this particular board, so we got 8 and 2, so that makes 12. So, and I'm pretty sure we have to go every single time with all this, you know, the item shop dialogue here and there, so that clearly explains it, so I don't think we can able to come across into a warp pipe anytime, so even then, no, that's end for us, for this particular board. Yep, and now let's move on to Boo's final turn on the, you know, Megafruit's Paradise, and he gets himself a 0, but in addition with 2, so that makes just only 2. Yeah, that probably just makes a little bit of a, you know, sorry, what did I just say? Anyway, so the final minigame, so let's see, 4-player game, and do we get a new minigame for this? Well, I think we have Lit Potato. This one's interesting. Don't get caught with a bob-omb, pass the bob-ombs around clockwise. You can only hold one at a time, so press just only one button, and that's all you really have to do here. So, yeah, that begs the question about this kind of syndrome like this. So, yeah, this minigame is so similar to Hot Bob-omb from Mario Party 1 and 2, Although the only difference is the fact that they might actually act out very similar to how it does it in the minigame from Mario Party 7, where in the 8-player minigames, they have to, like, pass the bomb between each other. But the only difference is this time around, though, is that it doesn't go exploded on 3 players at a time, so instead it's just only 1 player at a time. So, yeah, it doesn't go, like, explosion heavy, so, yeah, that just begs the question. So, but all you really have to do is just basically just have to, like, pass the actual, like, bombs between each other, and that's all you really have to do. So, yeah, the only advice for you is the fact that I suggest you're able to wait until the actual bomb starts completely flashing all of a sudden, and then next thing you notice is that you would able to win that minigame with effortlessly. So, there we go, folks, and that's about it for, you know, Let's Potatoes. So, yeah, it's almost like a, like, passing, like, I don't know. It's hard to describe for that sometimes. And there we go, folks. I think that's about it with Megafruit's Paradise. Pretty good of a board, but as I said this before, this is actually one of my least favorite boards of the game so far. Nothing too terrible or anything, as I said this before. The aesthetically speaking, it's nice, but the only downside is just about how the fact that once you're able to break the sand bridge for almost instant, well, you have to rely on the forms of the island hopping. So because of that, though, you know, it's kind of like, you know, Mystery Land from Mario Party 2, and especially noticeable with Warriors Battle Cannon from Mario Party 1. But the only difference is obviously on the ND Cube developer cycle. So, and yeah, we got ourselves the first bonus star, which is, by the way, the rich bonus, meaning the coin star of all things. So naturally, we've got that. And Sightseer star, it might be pretty much be Koopa Troopa, because he got 10 from the start, from you know, his first ever go. Yeah, which is pretty interesting. And the buddy bonus will actually goes to is. Actually, I don't know who's gonna go to. I'm pretty sure it's Goomba, but he forms of having Hammer Bro. Okay, so that's interesting to notice. And we obviously win this board pretty much because obviously we've pretty much dominated everything. So, expecting with the forms of like stealing the actual stars from Lakitu basically. So, yeah, we did manage to win that. Unlike any forms of whenever I play this game for my first time, that I seem to lost this board. Probably because it might be a little bit hard to get used to with the actual board design looks like. Especially noticeable with, you know, with the stuff of mechanics. But once we're used to it, then we pretty much enjoyed it so far. So, yeah, pretty cool to see how this one turns out. So, anyways, detailed results. Basically, I'm pretty sure the rich star might actually represent this counter lock here. But I'm pretty sure that might be something representative. So, at least we got 241 coins in total so far. And minigames still dominating it. And Koopa Troopa, he's the only one with the hidden blocks. But again, if you use the card variations, those will not count. So, yeah, it's classified for that. And I'm pretty sure Koopa Troopa uses most of his items. And looks like me and Pinkie Pie and Goomba has more allies. And looks like Koopa Troopa pretty much dominated with space travel department right there. And yet again, we only just land one of those versus spaces pretty much. And none of those extra bad luck spaces landed. Because I'm pretty sure enough, because it all depends on luck. So, that I guess. So, I think that's about it with Megafruit's Paradise. So, join us next weekend of Let's Play Super Mario Party. Is the fact that we're going to be jumping into the final main board in the Mario Party mode. I'm presuming this is actually called Chemic's Trezzling Tower, which I'm presuming what that name was actually called for that board. But even then, this should be interesting. So, see you guys next weekend and later.